Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Scorch Report. In the last video, we previewed the wildcard round, and I gave you my predictions for those games. So in this video, we're going to kind of recap the wildcard games and go over my predictions for the Divisional Round. If you hadn't got a chance to check out that video, the link will be down in the description below. And then I just want to thank you guys again for all your support, and let's get right into it. So we're kind of going to just start with the Texans game and move our way down, kind of like we did in the last video. Texans game, I said it was going to be a slugfest, and I really think it was for about 3 quarters there, and then in the fourth quarter, that defense for the Texans kind of just took over. Will Anderson is obviously a beast, getting that first defensive touchdown. And then I think it was all kind of just crumbling down there for the Steelers. They didn't really have the firepower to put up with this Texans defense to begin with. Like I said, I thought it'd be a little bit closer, but the score doesn't really tell the full story. The fourth quarter is kind of when it all fell apart. Mike Tomlin steps down as head coach of the Steelers after this game. I thought they were going to part ways with him, so this makes a lot of sense. And as far as what it means for Rodgers, like I said in the last video, it might just make more sense for him to retire. I don't see the direction the Steelers team is going in. I don't see any path to them building a contender to where they can go compete for a Super Bowl, so it honestly might make more sense for Rodgers to just let it go. As far as the Texans, the defense obviously is great, like they were billed to be. The offense was a little stagnant there, but I think they did enough to get the job done. And with a defense that great, you don't really have to do much to win games in this league. All right, moving on to Bills-Jaguars. This game was another great game. We had a lot of great games this weekend, I will say that. And Josh Allen just took over. He is so unbelievably good, and that was honestly the deciding factor in this game. Obviously, Lawrence made quite a few mistakes. He had a couple picks in there. But I think overall he played a decent game. I don't think those tell the full story. Josh Allen is just an animal. He absolutely willed this team to victory. He drove down the field in the fourth quarter and took the lead, and the Jaguars just couldn't respond. Jaguars still have a very bright future. Lawrence is obviously coming along here. It's taken a little bit longer than people anticipated, but he had a great season, and I don't think the Jaguars fans should be disappointed by this outcome. Obviously, it's hard not to be, but they have a bright future, and I think they can get back to this point next year with Liam Cohen at head coach and Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, and obviously Travis Hunter coming back and being healthy, so I definitely think they'll be okay. But yeah, the Bills kind of did what they needed to do. I don't think the Jaguars really relied on their run game like they should have. I think they were averaging like upwards of 10 yards a carry for most of this game, and they kind of just went away from it. I think if they kind of would have pounded more into the run game, I definitely think they could have pulled out this game with a W, but they obviously didn't. They kind of relied on the arm, and they kind of had a few stuttering drives there, and that's honestly what put them away. They were a little too conservative through the air, and it just didn't make sense for them to win this game, obviously. But yeah, Josh Allen took over. He was a beast down the stretch, and there's just not much you can do, and one of the best players in the sport is just giving it to you. So that's what I think about this game. As far as my prediction went, I think I picked the Jaguars to win this game because I thought they'd make a defensive play. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I still think it was a great game nonetheless, and now the Bills will face the Broncos in the next round. Next game we got Chargers-Patriots. This game I was very excited for, seeing Drake May and Justin Herbert kind of go at it, but it really didn't live up to that kind of hype. Drake May was a little slow to start in his first playoff game, but really picked it up in the second half, and Justin Herbert just could not get anything going all game long. A lot of people will point to say that their offensive line, they're getting too much pressure. Herbert was sacked, I think, 6 times. 6 times. He was sacked 6 times. But I just don't know how much of this is on the offensive line. I kind of went back and watched a little bit of the tape. He had open guys all game long. The Patriots were dropping back into basic man coverage. They didn't even throw many, different looks at them, not a lot of stunts, and there were guys open. He just did not hit him. He was obviously flustered by all the pressure, and he was scared to take those hits, and he just wouldn't hit open guys. That's what I have to say about that. And like I said in the last video, this is kind of make or break for Herbert, and I just don't know if he's ever going to put it together in the playoffs. His last 3 games in the playoffs have been horrific. He hasn't really shown us what he can do that he does in the regular season. He might just be one of those regular season performers, which is really disappointing because, like I said, I like Herbert a lot, but it's just getting hard to defend him at this point. And yes, the offensive line sucks. He was getting pressured all night, but like I said, I just don't think he stepped up and made the throws when he needed to. Like I said, we can talk a little bit more about Drake May. He really turned it on in the second half and willed a bunch of drives for them to score. And like I said, he used his legs a lot. I think he had 50 rushing yards in the first half. Patriots got it done. They were clearly the better team in this one, and they really took advantage of that weak offensive line for the Chargers, and they limited the big plays. An unsung hero in this game was Ramondre Stevenson. Had a lot of yards through the ground and through the air. And it was really a playmaker for them. Travion Henderson didn't have much of an impact, but it was his first playoff game, and obviously this team does love Ramondre Stevenson, as to the dismay of a lot of fantasy owners, unfortunately. But yeah, Patriots pull this one out, and that's all I really got to say about it. Okay, I kind of changed my mind here. I was originally going to go by each game and recap each of them for the wild card round, but I think I'm going to move over to the divisional round for the AFC, and then I'll do the same thing over on the NFC side. So, divisional round. Bills, Broncos. This is a rematch of what we saw last year. I will preface this right now. I am a Broncos fan. So, you could take anything I say as bias, or, I could be totally unbiased and true. But I am a Broncos fan, so I really hope they do pull this one out. I definitely think it's going to be a great game. I think the spread is 1.5, so that makes a lot of sense. I think the Broncos can pull this one out, totally unbiased. Last year, they obviously went into Buffalo and got absolutely throttled. It was Bo Nix's first season. He was still a rookie. I definitely think he has improved since last year, and I think being in Denver is going to be a big deal. And I think if Sean Payton could really tap into this run game, get R.J. Harvey going, Jaleel McLaughlin going, I really think this Buffalo's run defense is not great at all. Obviously, we saw in the Jaguars game that they were running all over them, but just stopped for some reason. So I think Sean Payton can lock into that and get that going. I really think that they're going to have a good chance to pull this one out. Obviously, Josh Allen could go superhuman at any moment. So you always got to count on that with them. So it's really a toss-up, but I'm going to go with my Broncos in this one. I think they can pull it out this time and move on to the conference championship game. All right, next divisional matchup, we got Texans versus Patriots. This is going to be another good game, I think. The defense for the Texans is obviously great. I've been raving on and on about this defense. And it is going to be the best defense Drake May has faced all season. Patriots have had a little bit of a cupcake schedule. Best defense they face outside of the Texans will have been the Browns, and they had Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, so take that information as you will. And I'm really concerned with how the Patriots' weapons are going to hold up in this game. Obviously, they got Stephon Diggs, who's going against his former team. So, for the storyline, maybe that means something, and he'll play a little bit harder. But as far as that goes, I think that's the best option they got. Ramondre Stevenson was good in the last game. I don't know if he's going to be so great in this one. They need to get Travion Henderson going for sure. Kayshon Boutte is good for the occasional deep ball, so maybe they can hit that. Hunter Henry's obviously been a reliable target for Drake May, but like I said, I just don't know how these weapons are going to hold up. This defense is absolutely suffocating, and if they aren't firing on all cylinders, they're going to be in trouble. I'm going to pick the Texans to upset the Patriots in this game. Spread is -3. I'm going to go straight money line for the Texans. I think they pull it out. I think that defense is going to carry them to victory. We've been raving about it all season. Generational, maybe, who knows? But yeah, I think they're going to move on to the conference championship and play my Broncos. All right, let's hop on over to the NFC. Starting Rams-Panthers. Boy, was I wrong about this game. I thought the Rams were going to absolutely smoke them. I thought this was going to be a landslide. I didn't think the Panthers had a chance at all. And what do you know? Fourth quarter, last drive of the game, they have a chance to go down and win it. They even went back and forth with the Rams on who had the lead in the fourth quarter. I guess the Panthers just have the Rams number in that regard. Like, obviously they didn't win, but they 2 games against them. One of them they won. One of them they took them to the brink. I don't know if this says a lot about the Rams. I will kind of go into that, but I just think the Panthers might just have their number. Bryce Young played a great game. I don't know if it's the best game of his career, like a lot of people are saying, but he was fantastic. Obviously, he needs to stay more consistent next season if he wants people to stop calling him awful, because I'm sick of it. But he is a good quarterback. I think he has the tools to be a good quarterback in this league and be a good quarterback for the Panthers moving forward. Obviously, like I said, losing this game doesn't really mean a lot for them, just because I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule here and they kind of won in a not-so-great division. So just getting to the playoffs was obviously a big get for them. Moving over to the Rams, I think this exposed kind of the problems with the Rams. Obviously, that secondary is not great. Bryce Young was able to pick this defense apart all day long. The defensive line's obviously great, and that does help out a lot, kind of cover the mistakes on the back end. But when they're getting out the quick passes and finding open guys, there's not much the secondary can do to stop it just because they don't have a lot of talent. Emmanuel Forbes, obviously, was a first-round pick for the Commanders a few years back. He didn't end up turning out to be great, and he was having kind of a resurgence, but he obviously is not a great option as your CB1. And I think that caused a big issue for them. Another issue a lot of people don't really talk about with Stafford, just because he has been so great all season, his mobility. The Panthers defense not having a lot of pass rushers, but were able to get some pressure. And Matt Stafford wasn't really able to escape it just because he is getting up there in age. He doesn't really have the mobility in his legs like he used to. And I think that was a big problem. I think that really stalled some of their drives out and was a big issue for them. I would say they did end up winning and did end up pulling it out. So obviously that's a good thing. I don't want to harp on them too much. And they will face the Bears in the next round. All right, next up we got 49ers Eagles. I said this game was going to be one of the best games of the weekend going into it. I definitely think it lived up to the hype. All I got to say is, how did the Eagles lose this game? 6-point lead going into the fourth quarter, fully healthy roster, 49ers obviously banged up, and they just let it go. It was at home as well, so I don't know how they lost this game. It's absolutely devastating loss for them as the defending champions to get knocked out by this 49ers team, especially after George Kittle goes out in the second quarter. You let Demarcus Robinson go for over 100 yards on your defense, and the offense was just stagnant pretty much all game long. Saquon Barkley had a decent game, went over 100 yards rushing, about 4 yards a carry. But all the problems we've been talking about with the Eagles all season long came to fruition. This offense is very stagnant. The drop-back passing game was not great. And when they couldn't get the run game going off in big chunks with explosive plays, the pass game just did not follow. A.J. Brown, I'm pretty sure, threw a fit on the sideline. Bro, what are we doing? Why? You're in the middle of a playoff game, and you're whining about not getting the ball? Catch the ball then. What are we doing? Obviously, I don't know what all was said and what was going on down there, but he cannot be possibly upset after he is just dropping straight up passes and, we're in the middle of a playoff game and you're out there whining. That's what I have to say about that. I just think it's a brutal loss. Obviously, I want to give the 49ers a lot of credit. Kyle Shanahan is an absolute guru. He really picked this defense apart. Obviously, it doesn't matter who's in the game for them. Demarcus Robinson can go for over 100 yards just because I think Kyle Shanahan is that good and has that good of a playbook. Yeah, I picked the Eagles to win, so obviously I'm not happy about that, but I just think it's just brutal for Philadelphia to lose this one. I think they had it in the bag and they had everything going for them, and they just fell short. So that's a brutal loss for them. All right, moving on. So I didn't do this on purpose, but saving the best for last, Bears-Packers. This game was absolutely incredible. I think better than the Eagles-49ers game for sure. Packers obviously go up big in the first quarter, 21-3, and they just crumble in the second half, which we have come to expect from these Matt LaFleur-led teams. I think his job is in serious jeopardy. I don't think the Packers can go on much longer with him at head coach, just with all these fourth quarter crumbles and all these bad decision making and just honestly conservative play calling down the stretch. When they need to go put this game away, they get conservative. We'll talk more about that, but yeah, a great game. Obviously, the Bears have done this a lot this season where they come back in the fourth quarter, so maybe this is just their MO. And obviously, big win for them. And this team is dangerous. They have all the weapons in the world. When they get hot, it's not a lot of defenses that are out there that can stop them. So Caleb Williams obviously played a great game. A little shaky in the first half, but really turned it on. And that's in that fourth quarter. Brandon McManus, oh boy. Yeah, good luck getting home without getting egged, honestly. You can't miss 2 kicks on an extra point. That was the game. That was literally the game. Even if he made like the extra point, they were down 4 going, and they could have kicked a field goal, which I don't know if he would have wanted to, but they would have been in position to kick a field goal and tie the game. But he missed the extra point. 2 kicks and an extra point. If he would have made any of those, this game could have turned out way differently, and they could have at least given them a chance in overtime. But obviously that didn't happen. But again, I don't think this is all on Brandon McManus. Obviously, missing 3 kicks is absolutely brutal. I think the coaching and Matt LaFleur's game planning down the stretches was absolutely horrendous. But not to take away from the Bears, they obviously played a great game, and Ben Johnson at the helm of this team is absolutely inspirational. And thank you to the Bears for paying for my groceries this week. Shout out to them. And yeah. All right, moving on to the divisional round for the NFC. 49ers Seahawks we'll talk about first. I'm having a hard time seeing a path for the 49ers to pull this one out. They kind of took a beat down in week 18. Obviously, it was only 13-3, but they couldn't get anything going on offense. Brock Purdy struggled heavily. Trisha McCaffrey struggled. And now they don't have George Kittle. This team does not have a lot of weapons. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan is a mastermind, so who knows what he can cook up with these nobodies at wide receiver, but it's going to be an uphill battle for sure. The Seahawks defense is incredible. The offense with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, they definitely, I think, can get it done against this banged-up 49ers defense, and I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win in this one. I'm not going to say they're going to cover the spread because last time I said that the Rams almost lost to the Panthers, so we're not doing that. I think the 49ers will cover the spread. I just think the Seahawks will end up winning. All right, moving on to the last matchup, we got Rams-Bears. This game could definitely turn to be a good old-fashioned shootout. I think there will be a lot of passing yards in this game, just with the state of both of these secondaries. I didn't talk about it much in the Bears-Packers segment, but Dennis Allen ran a lot of man coverage in that game, which I don't think is warranted. Their guys were getting absolutely routed up. Romeo Doubs was having a field day against them, and it was not working. But the secondary just wasn't what it used to be. Jalen Johnson obviously is a good player, but is not having that great of a season. So we'll see how that goes. This Rams secondary, obviously we talked about, is not great. And I just think there's going to be a lot of passing in this game. The run game, I think the Bears are going to struggle against this defensive line. DeAndre Swift, obviously, I don't really like as a player. Kyle Monunga, I do like, but I just think this defensive line is way too stout. As far as the Rams run game, obviously they haven't had much success in that regard. Mostly been through the air to their 2 weapons in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, who are both healthy for this game, I believe, which is a good sign for them. That's why I'm going to go ahead and pick the Rams. I just think that with that defensive line is going to get a lot of pressure on Caleb and might force him into some bad decisions, which he hasn't really made yet in these playoffs. So I think that defensive line is a big edge for them because the defensive line for the Bears is not great. It is very slow and was not getting a lot of pressure on Jordan Love last game. And I just think that's going to be too much for the Bears to handle. So good old-fashioned shootout is what I'm predicting, and I think the Rams are going to pull this one out. That's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for watching. That was my wildcard recap and predictions for the divisional round. Feel free to leave your own predictions down in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next one.